being in this situation, I kind of got to be my own everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I got to be my own doctor, my own lawyer, because ain't nobody gonna educate me on my circumstances. If anything, they like to keep me ignorant to my circumstances so they could take advantage of my ignorance. And that was kind of one of the things I wanted to talk about today. Like, you know, um, a family member that I've known ever since I was like 6 years old. She said to me, I saw her when I was staying in Gloucester, and I went home for work, and I was working at the community service board, and they actually had a property in my hometown. So we went to my hometown to that property, and we stopped to get some food, and I ran into a family friend, known me ever since I was like 5 or 6, and she didn't sugarcoat it, you know, my circumstances. She didn't, because that was my first time seeing her since I've been in the circumstances. So by then, let's see, I was put in 2006. I saw her like 2013. So
Okay,
like,
so this was a long time ago. This
yeah,
wasn't just like
yeah,
last week.
yeah. So like 7 years after I'm in the situation, I saw her, and she didn't sugarcoat it, and she did one of the things that most people don't do. You know, she said to me, she was like, they're lying about, and this is pretty much her exact words. They're lying about what they're saying is going on with you.
Yeah.
And I didn't really respond. I just listened because it kind of shocked me that she was so forward with my circumstances. And I didn't say nothing. I gave her a hug. We talked a little bit, and then I got in the company vehicle and left. And like even in you know 2014, when I got arrested for taking the lady car, the judge there, and my lawyer, I think he was a government agent, somebody in government or something like that. But he he tried to intimidate my mom in the courtroom, and my mom eyes got all watery and she got all jittery. And then the judge said to him straight up, she was like, "Come on, everybody know what this is." She was like, "We all know what this is," because the problem is, being in this situation, a lot of times people are not honest. It's people showing loyalty to the wrong people. Like, whether it's rappers that are influential, whether it's politicians, and people are loyal to that cause. Like, one thing I realized about those type of people, whether, politicians, celebrity, no matter if you're an actor, singer, news anchor, you know, a public figure, they're not the most honest people. Like, because when you look at them, they stick to, it's kind of like high school. You got your different cliques, and they're not honest people, and they're very good at being deceitful. And not just that, they kind of look at people like me and regular people as peasants, and like we don't know what's really going on in the world. That's the approach they take. Like, we're peasants, we don't know the real world, what's really going on in the world, and they upper echelon, and we just peasants that's supposed to be at their beck and call. And like, for example, like the rapper T.I. he said it when I was looking at him on, I think it was a VH1 show he was on, and he said, "Why?" Basically, this is me paraphrasing what he said. He pretty, because he has.
Was this an interview or a song? Or?
No, it was on his VH1 interview he did.
Okay.
And I don't know if it, like when they do like the reality shows and they do like, what is it called when they go in the little room and they just start talking.
Yeah, like the little profile things.
Yeah. I forgot what they call it, but anyway, he was in there, I believe, and he said, and this is me paraphrasing what he said, because they communicate indirectly, or everybody communicate indirectly, but he basically said, "Why not be on this medicine? Ain't like you was doing anything else with your life." And he was a key player in getting me in this situation. And and the sad reality is a lot of people feel that way. upper echelon people like politicians, celebrities, they look at regular people like me and say, "Oh, we supposed to sacrifice." You know, that's how they are. You know, where I have a family that love me. I have a life. They think because they got money and power that everyday people are supposed to bow down and kiss their toes and like they kings and even like the name of his children, Messiah, King. Those are two of his children names. Like it's something like who names a king Messiah and King.
King. Yeah.
So it goes to tell you like his process and the way he think. Like he's like godly and but yeah, like it's it's crazy because you know um this situation's been going on for a long time, and for him to kind of be like, oh, it ain't like you was doing anything else with your life. And you look at his children, they living off his money that he made off of me. Because you familiar with payola? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how he got his success. Payola from my situation. Prior to 2006, T.I. may have been worth, I would say, tops $400,000. Once he made that album about me called King, and you know, he kind of went. It kind of took him next level. Like every MTV was playing his songs a lot. That was about me. BET was playing it a lot. All of a sudden, he's doing reality shows. He's doing Crime Stoppers. He's donating shirts to people in my community. Like basically, he wouldn't have had any of that success if it wasn't for me being in this situation. And for him to say things like, "Why not do it? Ain't like you was doing anything else with your life." What have your children done with their life? Look at them like you got one that's an inspiring rapper who current currently he's a rapper and the type of rap he do is now obsolete. Then he got a daughter. I don't think she's in colleges. And if anything, his children done less with their life than I have. Like I was working, had a decent job at UPS, you know, just a regular person. So for him to say that as if his children went to Harvard or Yale and started a business and done something with their life, they didn't. So who is he to say things like that? And that's kind of something that people, most people, I say everybody, I think it's human nature to look at people, to look at things in a way as if it's not happening to me, I can speak out of turn. I can speak out of pocket. Like for example, like I think it's human nature, and you even see it in like all mammals, like dogs. Like when I stayed with my family, we had pets. We had an outside dog who always wanted to come inside. We got inside dogs who always want to go outside. And I think that's just human nature to a degree to be. What's the word I'm looking for? To be, you change. It's like you want change. You get bored with the same thing over and over, and like, and that's just part of it. Like when you look at celebrities, like, a lot of times they speak and don't really know what they're talking about. They speak on things that they didn't experience. Like I remember looking at the show on TV called The Real, and it's four ladies, and one of them, I think Adrienne Bailon, she was talking about her family. She was like, growing up as a kid, her family, was working, making good money, and they was against Social Security for elderly to a degree, just things that most Republicans are against. And then she was like, well, when they retired and saw how the stuff that they was against affected their way of life once they retired, then they was like, it changed their perspective
Right.
and point of view.
Right.
So now they all for these incentives and government programs, and you find that with most Republicans, they like, oh well, Republicans are like, oh, tax breaks, people on food stamps, taking government taxpayers' money, taking like what the government do with taxpayers' money,
Right.
but they have an issue with it going to people that's starving, but they have no issue with it going to people who use it to fund wars.
Right.
And give it to companies like Halliburton, who inflate everything they sell to the U.S. government and doing no bid contracts. They don't have a problem with that, because that's their security blanket. That's what keeps them being Republican, is people making those sacrifices so they can afford to live the life they want to live. Because you think about it, if you really want to think about it, most Republicans, when you look at, like, I would say maybe 1970 and before then and down, being a patriot was a good thing. Serving your country was a good thing. And not that it's not now, but people saw that as a way of advancing in life.
Right.
Like most politicians, like George Bush dad, he was in the Air Force, I believe. He flown in planes. Like, to have a political career, you actually have to have been a countryman and served in the military. That was a thing. But nowadays, it's still patriotic to be in the military, but it doesn't advance your career really like it did previously. You're not going to be in the Army, let's say in 2022, and then you retire, 20 years later, and then you're going to go be president. They're going to look at you like you're trash. You don't even deserve to be in our company. And that's just the harsh reality. Nowadays, they look at military as like, well, I guess you joined the military because you ain't had nothing else going on in your life. And that wasn't always the case. And it's not me downing military because I come from a military family. But nowadays, it's not something where it's rewarded, in an upper echelon community.
Right. Unless you're like military leadership.
General. Go to West Point.
Right.
You go to West Point, like General Petraeus and people like that.
Exactly. You've got the class status. You've got the people who go to the military academies, the people who come from educated families, and it's, and it's a status thing to go to the military academies. And then you have the people who enlist.
Yeah.
And it's perceived that a lot of people enlist because they are afraid they can't get jobs otherwise, or they're not going to go to college, or whatever.
And most people, if you're going to be, I don't know any other military institution other than West Point.
That's the Naval Academy, Air Force Academy.
Okay. But I'm more familiar with like West Point.
Yeah.
And like those are the people who go on to be generals.
Right.
You're not going to be serving at just a regular base. Let's say Fort. What's the one in Yorktown?
Like if there's Fort Eustis.
Fort Eustis. You're not going to be serving at Fort Eustis and then go on to be a 4-star, 5-star general. It's just not in your realm of achievements. You're not going to achieve that. And you may want that dream, but you're just not going to get it. And that's just like how people say, I want to go to the NBA. There's some people that no matter how hard they work, will never be talented enough to go to the NBA.
Right.
Most people.
Right.
So when you look at that, you ain't going to be at Fort Houston to go on to be, most people who reach that class in upper echelon are people who go to these academies, and it's not people who don't have the history. Like your family, it has to be a generational thing, and your family has to have been in politics for a long time, and you're basically of that bloodline. Like if you're not of that bloodline, no matter how smart, how many wars you fought in, you're not going to achieve that status of a general, 4-star general. Most, and then like even like with West Point, you just can't go to West Point. You got to get, what is it called from?
You have to be nominated,
Yeah, so
and even then, like
it's
you
a
have to
rigorous
be
process.
nominated. Yeah, there's a rigorous process. Like every member of Congress can nominate 10 people.
Mm-hmm.
So you compete for those nominations, and then that just gets you applying.
Yeah,
And so
and
the Academy West Point might pick one
yeah, and
of those 10.
I think a lot of that is kind of favoritism too. Like you can, you know, you can say, well, it's hard work, but the thing about life is hard work takes a little bit of luck. And like the saying goes, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So with that being said, people like people like that, like West Pointers, I could see them being upper echelon and and climbing the ladder, but everyday soldiers, no, and it's just the way it is. It's not really something where it should be this or it should be that. It's just how it is. I'm not trying to change that. But I'm not saying it's not a problem either.
Right,
It's
right.
just the way of the world. And um, so, but yeah, like, and back to what I was the focus of
Mm-hmm.
the conversation. You know, you really military is not respected like it used to be. Nowadays, it's like we just want to send people to war. Don't care if you come back alive or not. When you come back, we're gonna you're gonna be in a long waiting line at the VA. You're gonna need therapy, which you probably won't get a lot of that. And so I don't think. Then you got places like DAV that do things for veterans. You know, then it's another one you see the commercials, Wounded Warriors. Like I feel like that our government, it's like this. I feel like to a degree, I'm not saying this is bad about like being in the military, but you can benefit and use it as a stepping stone. You can use it to pay for your college. You can use it to travel the world. So those things you can do. You know, and as long as you're in tip top shape and what's the as long as you kind of like functioning at a level to where you're useful, you can use that as a stepping stone and achieve anything you want. But once you're wounded or mentally unstable and out of commission and they can't use you anymore, then they don't do all the things they do for you when you're when they can
When you're useful.
And that's another thing that is just human nature to be that way. It's not something you're going to change because if they dedicated all the time and effort and money into soldiers that was sick in some type of form, whether physically or mentally, it will cost so much money to where they just would want to spend that. Like you look at like a lot of these situations where they they was voting in Congress. I can't think of any of them offhand, but there's been a lot of bills that's been voted on that would have benefited military greatly, whether wounded warriors, veterans, greatly.
Veterans funding, veterans health care, mental health care.
And Congress shut it down because these people are no longer useful. They give you basically the government give you these incentives because they need you. When they don't need you anymore, you don't have those same incentives to to thrive off of. you know, it's kind of like, okay, he's out of commission, on to the next, you know. And I think that's something, the best way to handle a situation like that and to look at a situation like that, soldiers need to be educated before they sign up on things like that. Because a recruiter ain't going to talk about when you're out of commission, when you're a veteran. They're going to talk about how you can travel the world, how you can pay for school, you know, and things like that. Like a lot of recruiters are treated like, or viewed as such as like car salesmen. You know, how they'll tell you anything just to sell a car or to get you to sign up.
Bonuses and
you know,
things like that.
like my brother, like he joined the Navy, and the first place they sent him out of high school was Bahrain. You know,
Yeah.
and like one of my mother friends who was in Bahrain, she lived there. She wasn't in the military. She was like, that's not a place they should be sending an 18, 19-year-old kid. You know, but yeah, he went to Bahrain, and and like, you know, but that's the thing.
How has the experience been for him? Being in the military.
He 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 got to travel the world. He had some sad stories about Bahrain, but for the most part, you know, he liked it. He liked it. And yeah, he liked it. He enjoyed the Navy in what 2003, 2002, something like that. It was pretty safe, you know. So you know, he got to travel the world. He'd have been in like Bahrain, uh, a few other places he'd been to, you know, and you know, I think he was in it for like 3 or 4 years. He didn't.
Okay, he didn't spend his whole career there.
So it's not too many stories I could tell. Yeah, but yeah. So I wrote down some things I want to talk about.
Sure. Nope.
But like, you know, it's kind of just like, it's frustrating because when the mistake T.I. made by saying why not do this, it ain't like you was doing anything else with your life. It's not that he was wrong for saying that from his vantage point. Oh, it's not that he was wrong for feeling that way. He was wrong for saying it. I guarantee you, the Bush family, a lot of those, you know, politicians feel the same way. And it's not that I'm singled out and they feel that way about me. They feel that way about a lot of Americans. Like, if they feel that way about soldiers, you know. So, you know, it's the fact that he said it, had the audacity to say it, you know, and you know, it's, you know, like for example, when I was staying in Gloucester, you know, I could look at any channel I want on TV, but when I was looking at the Today Show and Jenna Bush was on there, and she was doing a segment, I think she was kind of like an anchor. What do you call it? Like what do you call it when they out in the
like a field reporter.
Field reporter. Yeah, she was a field reporter, and you had the anchors and her all on the screen, and I was looking at it, you know, and I was saying things, thinking things, you know, that was an attack against her father, George Bush Jr. And when they went to her, and like when the camera went to her, well, it was a dual screen. When she started speaking to them, it was like 4 anchors. They all looked down at the ground like, because it was an awkward moment based on the thoughts I was having, and all of us, you know, in a situation, well, through TV together, and you know, and me blaming her father, and I think it was awkward for the other anchors, and she saw it, I saw it, and she started crying on live TV. You know, she started crying on live TV. You know, and about 20 to 30 minutes later, a utility vehicle show up at my apartment and started working, basically wanting me, and so it shows you. Now, if I did that to, let's say, a musician, that utility vehicle would have never showed up at my apartment. If I'd done that to an athlete, it would have never showed up at my apartment.
You think?
I know. So the reality is, I'm supposed to be some kind of peasant, and she's supposed to be royalty, and they can do anything they want. Like people telling me things like, I need to mind my business. It's the audacity of people. I need to be loyal. It's the audacity of people like that talk that, like, and I noticed when I said that, people said things like, I need to mind my business. And that kind of, you ask the question, like, mind your business. Like, what do you make of that? Like, people telling me I need to mind my business when it comes to everything that's going on.
Well, I have a really hard time inferring like I hesitate generally to infer what people mean without asking them for clarification to begin with. In this situation, like not being there and like hearing exactly what is said and what they're saying in response to, I would have a hard time.
Okay.
Making I could like make guesses, but I don't like to speculate.
You don't like to speculate. Okay, because like how I look at it, like, when someone got me in a situation, that I don't want to be in, and I'm supposed to just accept it and let you continue it. That's what they're saying. I need to mind my business.
You feel like you're being shut down from advocating for yourself.
So to end like the speculation, basically, and let's paint this scenario. I know you can't, be direct, but I'm getting my mind read by dangerous people. I'm telling on them, and they telling me I need to stop telling on them and getting involved in their business, and I need to mind my business.
You have to get that?
No. Then I need to stop telling their business, and I need to mind my business, which is minding my business is to sit back and allow them to read my mind, to disrespect me, to put all my business out in the street. And I done had a lot of people say that. Like, I done had families say that. I done had people at the hospital, at these mental hospitals say that. I done had people out in the community. This is the two most things said.
The things, one of the two things you hear most commonly?
One is, I need to mind my business and stop being nosy. And two is, well, you're still alive. What's their complaint about? You still breathing? Like, I done had the lady at Community Service Board, when I'm there checking in, she's standing over at the desk and she said, as long as she's still breathing, which was, she said it to someone else, but she was indirectly talking to me.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's like a phrase that people use a lot, or a notion.
So, I look at that like, if this was your child on this medicine, would you feel the same way about that? As long as your child's still breathing? It's funny that in this country, certain things apply to black people and then certain things apply to white people. And this is not being racist, it's just a harsh reality.
Absolutely.
And like, you couldn't put a 21-year-old white kid on this medicine and tell him that he's supposed to stick to codes, be a G, and be loyal. Because and the thing about it, we are partly to blame. Black kids are partly to blame, but then they're not. And this is why I say that, because you look at the black youth, the type of music we listen to, it makes us numb to dangerous circumstances and street criminality, criminal behavior. So we got a tolerance that's a little higher than most kids, and not necessarily making us dangerous, but we're willing to accept certain street elements and situations more
Mm-hmm.
so than a 21-year-old white kid. And
You give more risk, more hardship.
and and we have more hardship, but the reality is you don't have to grow up in the ghetto to be that way. Just by listening to rap music, it kind of teaches you to think a certain way, like
Mm-hmm.
no snitching, strict stick to the G code. Drug dealers are celebrated as heroes. Strippers are fun, you know. And then nowadays, the young girls is a lot of female musicians who are saying, you know, mess with dude, have sex with him, take all his money. Then you got the rappers, which are dudes saying,
Mm-hmm.
you know, have sex with a woman, don't talk to her no more.
Mm-hmm.
You got two
Mm-hmm.
different parties. You got male celebrities, female celebrities, each telling the chosen gender youth things that you put them together is atomic.
Right,
You
right,
know, so
right, right, right,
you
right.
got you got 16-year-old males thinking that all women
They're
are,
dehumanizing each other.
yeah, yeah, like all women are like just trying to get your money, you using you. And then you got women, your young girls thinking that all dudes are after one thing, you just use them and take their money.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
these are things that are being introduced to our communities, whereas it's not being introduced to your community. You know, so you know, and it's always been that way. You know, it's just gotten worse. You know, and that's it's a problem. It's problematic. You know, and then you wonder why there's so many single mothers because of situations like how I just
Mm-hmm.
described.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you ain't got rappers telling you how you should be a good father. You ain't got female rappers telling you how you should be loyal and build something with another male
Mm-hmm.
that's lasting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't have that. So as much as people want to think that it's just music, it's not just music for an immature mind. It's more
Mm-hmm.
than that. It's something
Mm-hmm.
that people live by. It's a
But
way
it's a
of
cultural
it's a cultural
influence.
influence
It's
and
a
a
way
way
of
of
teaching
life.
people how to
You know,
be.
and I think it's intentional and it's bringing about the destruction of our community. You know, and this is coming from somebody that used to rap, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and still
Mm-hmm.
does music, you know, but like I'm more mature and I don't use profanity in my music and I don't use anything
You
that's
still rap?
derogatory. I write songs. Like
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done it in a while, but I kind of switched to like doing like pop music because I try to be conscious with my music, you
Yeah.
know, and I don't want to be part of the problem. I rather,
Sure.
you know, be part of the solution. But you know,
Do you ever write stuff like intentionally to be positive, to be putting positive, like
uh,
wholesome, connecting messages out? Kind of.
uh, yes and no. I usually write love songs.
Well, that's positive and
you know,
connecting and
you know,
wholesome.
but it has a message. Like most of them has a message. Like pop songs, like um, it usually has a message. Like it's catchy. I usually write catchy pop love songs, you know, and things like that, you know. But I try to have a message, you know. And if I write a song, you know, if I say something negative, I want to put it in context to where, like, it's like just a moment, and like it's kind of like as you progress, it comes to a resolution to where it all makes sense.
It's worked through, and
Yeah,
it comes out into
yeah,
a more positive
because you
place.
know, in a lot of ways, and you look at rap music can reach people in ways that, especially our community, in ways that no one else can.
Mm.
You know, sometimes you got to get down in the mud to understand.
Sure.
You know how to play in the mud. You
Sure.
know, so
well, people are in the mud, and so you know if you want to be relevant.
Yeah. So like
to that.
So like what I'm saying is like, for example, you know, if you are an urban kid and grew up in the streets, you can't get a politician can't come in there and talk to them, use like big words, and they understand and relate to him. You can, but you can be from the streets, get an education, whether Ivy League, and progress and come back to your community, and you could talk to them in a way to where they get it, they understand.
Mhm.
So with that being said, rap music has that about them. Like rap music has that about way. They have a way to they can communicate with the youth. But instead of them communicating with the youth to educate them, they communicate with the youth to destroy them.
Mhm.
You know, and if the like if they let's say if a record label said tomorrow, no more negative rap. Y'all gonna have to write about positive stuff. You know, y'all gonna have to uplift y'all community. You know, you can only rap about stuff that you actually experience. You can only rap about a car you actually have, jewelry you actually
Mhm.
have, money you actually have. Then a lot of rappers would be out of business. You know, they lie. You look at the shows like Love and Hip Hop. Like, where's the hip hop? You know, it's a bunch of has-beens doing a reality show who's always in a recording studio talking about how they making music, and none of the music is ever released. It's basically just
Mhm.
a gimmick to get a black audience so they can get ratings and they can get a
Mhm.
check.
Mhm. Yeah.
And they don't care nothing about, you know, what goes on the show. You look at these shows, it's drama. It's all about drama. Like, let's sneeze.
God bless you.
It's all about drama. You look at them, and it's even with like basketball wives. You got young black ladies on TV, and they're always out in public having drinks. They get into an argument. They throw a bottle or throw a glass. The glass breaks. A bunch of people around in the because it's in a public
Mhm.
setting. The glass breaks. They fall on the ground, pulling each other hair. They in skirts. They in dresses, and that's all fake. None of it's real, but they think that's what the black community wants to
Wants
see.
to see.
You know, and it's sad that that's the type of representation we have. Like, it's not that we are, it's what we want to see because that's what you made us want to see. Like, we are what you created. We're not something where we was born this way. We're we are it's cause and effect. What
Mhm.
black people are today is what's been created through segregation, slavery, and lack of representation.
Mhm.
You know, and you know, it's something where we've been on this road for a long time, so being that way. So anything strange, it's going to be an anomaly. Anything to say, hey, you don't have to do this. Why don't you do that? They're going to look at you as corny and whack
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
because
Mhm.
what's been given, who's our heroes are, who's who's celebrated in our communities. If you do something honest, then go to school. You even got rappers talking about you, how people that get an education are corny. You know,
Mhm.
all
Mhm.
these things
Mhm.
are
They denigrate
yeah,
things that actually would help people get ahead.
yeah. So that's it's crazy, you know. But enough about that. I was going to talk about something else real quick. And like for example, this has a lot to do with rap. What I'm about to say.
Okay.
Uh, I say 2000, early 2000. I was working at the Omni Hotel. I know I just went from switch
Yeah,
gears
you
real
know, that's
quick.
all right. That's well,
Yeah,
I'm
but
so
I
glad that
talked.
you got your list
Yeah, I talked
to
too
make sure you
long.
can get through the things that you want to talk
Yeah,
about. That's
I
perfect.
kind of got sidetracked and just started talking
That's all
about,
right.
you know, a lot of other stuff. You know, just how I
Other
feel.
things you're thinking about
Yeah,
the world and
but this actually has something to do with rap. I was working at the Omni in the early 2000s,
Mhm.
and I was a barista, and I met this guy there. His name was Arnold, and you know, when I first started working there, you know, he was very friendly. I didn't think much of it, and he was like, he used to say, little weird things that I just kind of thought was suspect. And then one day he came to me like, I thought you was an undercover cop. And I'm
He
like,
said that to you.
yeah, and I'm not doing anything illegal,
Right,
and haven't
right.
done anything illegal with him. And that's what
Right.
he said to me. He's like, yeah, you came off as an undercover cop, and I don't know anything illegal going on. If it was
Right.
anything illegal going on at the
Right.
hotel,
Right, right.
and I was like, no, funny thing about that, with all the questions and the way he was acting, I thought the same thing about
Yeah,
you.
Yeah.
So, long story short, he used to always tell me, it's something I want to tell you. That's what he used to say to me, it's something I want to tell you. And then he told me a story. And the story was about a Busta Rhymes video set. Because it was a Busta Rhymes video set. And they said G Unit, which is 50 Cent, and all of them was there. And the incident happened where it was a shootout, and Busta Rhymes' video got shot up, and one of Busta Rhymes' bodyguards ended up getting killed. And I'm like, okay, you tell me that. And then he was telling me that story, and he was saying 50 Cent was there and all that. And I'm like, okay, I'm not thinking much of it.
Right.
And then I get on this medicine and realize that what he told me hasn't happened yet. It hadn't happened yet. And it was actually some kind of twisted, I don't know what to call it, because it was deja vu. He told me a story. The guy Arnold always used to tell me something he wanted to tell me. Then he told me that story about Busta Rhymes. And when I was put on this medicine, I see it on the news where this happened. And allegedly this happened in the beginning of 2006. I would say end of winter, early spring 2006, I want to say this happened at the Busta Rhymes video shoot. Well, he told me this in like a year and a half prior about that incident that hadn't happened yet. And long story short, I end up on this medicine, and Jay-Z come out with the song Deja Vu, and referring to that incident. And it's even a witness back home, because when I worked at the Omni, I worked there for like 2-3 months. I stopped working there because I was working there and back home. I had 2 jobs.
And this was in 2005 sometime?
I say end of 2004, going into 2005.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and I even he told me that story, and I even told somebody about it back home. And this was a year before I was put on the medicine, a year before anything that's going on now that I'm aware of. And I told somebody that story, like, yeah, dude was telling me, he was, I told somebody that story he told me about Busta Rhymes' videos shoot getting shot up. And I was told that a whole year before it actually happened. And Jay-Z responded with Beyonce with a song called Deja Vu, referring to that incident. And the song was called The Big Bang. And it was Busta Rhymes in the video, Summer G Unit, Mary J. Blige, and I don't know, a few other people. But yeah, so he told me a story that hadn't happened yet. And he was just a suspect dude, not because, it was just the things he would say to me, like, I got something I got to tell you.
Things like that just were like...
And he didn't know me. And I assume he didn't know me. I'd never met him before. So for somebody to tell me, it's something I want to tell you, and I'm like, you don't know me. Why you want to tell me something?
Yeah.
And I didn't find the Busta Rhymes stuff suspect because I didn't know who I was to these people. I didn't know that rappers was rapping about me prior to being on this medicine. So That didn't raise any suspicion. But once I was put on the medicine, everything came forward about, Arnold, um, T.I., Jeezy, all these guys. Like I used to play Jeezy album every day for like 6 or 7 months, not even knowing the album was about me. You know?
You're just a big Jeezy fan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like he said something about got to play for the seven, call him Mike Vick. Well, that was Mike Vick jersey number. Play for the seven in 7 cities. That's what they call like what is it, Hampton Roads.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's what Jesus said, and I used to play that song every single day, not even knowing it was about me. T.I. album, but not King, Urban Legend. Played that every single all the time. You know, didn't know that that was about me. So when Arnold was like telling me this stuff about Busta Rhymes, I didn't find it suspicious. I just thought, okay, rapper shootout.
Yeah, things
I,
happen.
I,
Yeah.
I left it at that. I didn't investigate it to see where it happened, why
Mm-hmm.
it happened, who was beefing with who. I didn't do any of that. I was telling somebody about the story that he told me, but as far that was that. I left it
Mm-hmm.
at that, not realizing that when I was told the story, I never saw any footage of anything
Right, you hadn't seen
remotely.
anything, and you didn't
So, but
check
that
it
didn't
out.
raise no suspicion.
Right.
I had no reason to look any further, because I really didn't care, because not because people got hurt,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you know, well, people got hurt, that's it's none of my business. I don't know these people,
Right.
and it's not because I don't care. It's just
Right.
one
So
of
there
those
are people
things
getting hurt around the world all
all
the
the time,
time. Yeah.
and it's not something that
You can't keep
I
track
wasn't
of all of it.
yeah, I wasn't a huge Busta Rhymes fan musically, so I didn't follow him, so I didn't really know what that was about. Well, I get put on this medicine. One of the first videos that come out is Jay-Z, Deja Vu. And I'm sitting there like, and then I see a clip. Actually, no, the person, I'm on the medicine at this time, and the person who I told the story to called me and was like, hey, I just saw that stuff you was telling me about Busta Rhymes on the news. And it showed up on the news like a year
Mm-hmm.
and a half later
Wow.
after I was on this medicine. They showed it on the news. I think it was MTV. Uh, what is their news channel? Their news station, 10 to the hour.
MSNBC or
No, MTV.
oh, MTV.
Yeah, and she was like, "Yeah, I saw that thing you told me about Busta Rhymes. It just happened. It was on the news." Well, I was told that like a whole year and a half prior, and that's when the red flags started coming up because
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, all this crazy stuff going on. Then Busta Rhymes make the Big Bang music video,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like some of the rappers was dissing me in that video,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm on this medicine, and I'm sitting there like, something's crazy is going on. Something crazy is going on here, and I didn't realize I was getting my mind read at the time. I was just taking the medicine, thinking it was depression medicine, and and basically Jay-Z said things like, "I don't make the list, don't be mad at me," and I said that before. He said, talking about H.O., spell out Houston, talking about how I was about to get arrested, but I really can't talk on that incident, that led to everything. Well, not led to everything, it led to the incident it was an incident that happened, I say a week prior to me being put on this medicine, and I'm
Just
not
to let you know, we got about 5 minutes.
yeah. And I'm not afraid to talk about it. I would just like to talk about it with a lawyer present because, I'm not a lawyer. And at times, I don't articulate myself as best as I could, and being like, you look at a lawyer, that they can make something out of nothing. Like, if you say the wrong word, they can twist it
Right.
and use it against you. And I don't fear that entirely. I just choose not to say it because, and that should be like last week. I don't feel like I articulated myself well last week, and with me, I'm a straight shooter. I'm honest, and like what I would tell anybody listening to anything I say, don't try to take anything I say out of context, read too much into it. Think of it as, you having a conversation with your child, because how you will proceed. And don't think of it like a lawyer and how can we dissect this and pick this apart so we can use it against them. So that's how I look at that. But yeah, back to what I was saying, like, yeah, I lost track.
So Buster
Oh,
Rhymes.
yeah, okay, I remember the incident. I don't want to talk about it, but I'm not afraid to talk about it if people are ready to have that conversation. Like, if they take me off this medicine and sit down, we can have that discussion about everything, the incident that led to the medicine. We can talk about all that, because at the end of the day, I'm innocent. And the reality is, they framed me and entrapped me just so they could thaw out a 3-year prior plan to put me on this medicine. And this is not an opinion, this is a fact. So I don't fear, if the judge is going to be honest and fair, then I don't mind sitting down talking about what happened prior and once I was on the medicine in the courtroom. I don't mind it, because at the end of the day, I'm innocent. My family's innocent. We don't profit from this. We didn't do anything to be in this situation. And this is all a situation that was planned out 3 years in advance. But from the Busta Rhymes to all these, like, it's a lot of key players that played a role in to get me on this medicine. And then I finish it with this. And I will say this about the incident. Chris, one of the guys who was there, a guy I went to school with, his name is Chris Sampson. And I never understood why he was there, because we hadn't talked in years, and when we was even in school, we just passed each other and they said,
you didn't know each
how
other
you
well.
doing?
Right.
The other guy, JB, I really didn't have much of a conversation with him. He was always a cool younger dude. He was younger than me, but I always looked at him as a cool dude, but we never really had conversation. And I don't blame them for anything, but I didn't figure this out till about maybe a year ago, to why they chose them. Chris Sampson, and I finished it, it'll probably take about 3 minutes.
Okay. Okay.
Chris Sampson, well, if you break down his last name, Sam P. Son, S-A-M-P. Son. Well, Sam stands for my community. P stands for my father. And son is saying that I'm a son of my community and a son of my father. And that's how I interpret that, because I don't know any other explanation. Because when they put me on this medicine, they knew they was going to communicate indirectly from the beginning. So they came up with a plan how they can communicate with me indirectly, whether it's license plates, or whatever may have you. And JB, now this is JB connection to all this. JB, his name is JB, I forgot how to spell it, Brockton or something like that. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. But J stands for Jay-Z, B stands for Beyonce. J, they call Jay-Z, short for Jay-Z, they call him Jay sometimes. Some of his friends be like, hey, what up, Jay? How you doing? They call Beyonce B. They don't call her by her full name either at times. That's how you got the Beehive and all that, like her followers.
Right.
So JB, Jay-Z, Beyonce. So with that being said, these are people they use before the medicine, and you tell me they use JB, which translates to Jay and Beyonce before medicine. They're going to say that that's not the case. But it's very coincidental that one of the guys that played a role in getting me on this medicine, well, I would say he played a role. JB didn't play a role. He was there when the incident happened. And then Jay-Z and Beyonce come out with a song, Deja Vu. And it's too coincidental. Just like, and where P, how the P name, like Sam stands for my community on back home on Main Street, because that's a guy on Main Street named Sam.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering how you were, what that connection, that and line of thought was.
And like my father, BET came out with a movie with Master P called Uncle P. Like at times they wouldn't say my father was my father. They would call him Unc. Like
Mm.
there's a DJ from Atlanta who came out with a song called, his name is DJ Unc, short for Uncle, and the song was called Walk It Out. And no, not Walk It Out. It was a song called Beating Down Your Block. That was the name of his album, meaning like beating down your block, I can hear when you come through. You
Mm.
know, meaning
Mm.
like I was fighting my block because when I first was put on this medicine, I was, from what we was talking about last week when um, Lloyd Banks said they want to see you and your man in the casket. I thought my own community was trying to kill me for the longest. For like the first couple of years, I thought that they set me up. And that incident, you know, in that incident that happened with JB and Chris was there, on my way home, they actually intercepted the radio in my car
Mm-hmm.
and told me there's a good thing you did turn around because we was gonna kill you. You know, so that really happened.